DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Intel, Monster Energy, and U.S. Navy.
Just in case you missed that last series, go back, rewind it, and watch the VOD, and we'll see you in about 6 hours. Long game to start the day here. We are jumping into just our second match of the day. I'm your host, Bach, here at DreamHack Open Anaheim 2020. On the desk with me, Sean, Gares, and Potter throughout the entire weekend.
Yeet.
Just one down.
One down. 3 to go.
3 to go. But this next one could also be
a banger.
Just as good.
See how long that one meant? Like maybe a little bit upset, a little bit tired, and now I'm just like excited about the storyline of probably one of these teams having a roster change. It's like I'm just that upset, you know?
You really think, I mean, with the major just right down the road, you really think that that desperate measure would be taken?
I don't know. I feel like whichever team loses this match is going to feel like they're dead in the water. And I wouldn't blame their organizations if they forced a roster change at that point, based on the results leading up to this situation. You know? They should not be here.
Speaking of the results leading up to this situation, let's go ahead and take a look at the group bracket. And as you can see, ENCE lost a very close game to Gen G early on in the tournament. That's what brought them down here. MIBR falling to Complexity. That score is a lot closer than it actually was.
Exactly. That 11-16 and that 14-16, I think what we took away from both of these matches was exactly that, Mark. It could have gone either way, and those score lines don't really define how close it actually was.
Yeah, very weird games, right? That was a game where ENCE won both pistols. They were up 13-5. Seemed like everything was in their favor until it wasn't. They had a lot of fun. They wanted to play more rounds, according to Reddit. You know, the whole meme, let's have fun. But yeah, they ended up losing. So that was a shocking result.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people saw that happening, either one. I think a lot of people thought ENCE would not necessarily blow through Gen G, but probably pick up the win. It was still a close game, but they weren't able to come out on top. The question is now, does MIBR come in like kind of invigorated, and is ENCE kind of like, man, what's going on?
I don't know what is going on with MIBR. I don't know where to rank them. I think they play a decent style. They look like they lack confidence. When I saw them lose to Furia with Gary standing in, the coach, at CS Summit, I said, well, this team literally just picked up Mayern, but they're already dead in the water. So,
I don't think it's a confidence issue. I think it's a too many options issue, like an overthinking type of issue. Yesterday, they didn't capitalize on Mayern's opening kills. They were just kind of turtled up, not really taking all the space that they already won over. So I'm not sure. It just seems like they have so many options, so much firepower in their players that they don't know what to do with them.
Imagine losing to your biggest domestic rival when their coach is standing in. That has to just be so painful.
Do you think MIBR did better with Zeus standing in as the coach during that small stint? I mean, they had some upset wins during that time as well.
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is for MIBR right now, but they need to turn things around quick.
Well, we do have the maps coming up here in just a second. Christine, is there anything we should expect to see right off the bat?
You know, I think ENCE is going to have to veto Vertigo here first, and I think MIBR are going to veto out that nuke. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Previously, when these two teams met up, MIBR ended up picking into Train, and that went pretty well for them. ENCE picked Mirage. I think they should do something like that again. I think both these teams should do that. ENCE has beaten MIBR in the last several meetings. Oh my God. We're going to get to see MIBR play Nuke. This is a great timeline, actually.
This is really great, because we haven't seen MIBR play Nuke in like over 6 months in an official LAN match. So that's actually pretty surprising for this squad.
So I may or may not have sat down and talked to Zeus before they went on stage for this match and got a little bit of the juicy deets.
Yeah?
that I won't share on camera, but we'll talk about it off camera because I feel like it's unfair. It's a violation of his confidence.
Yeah.
But I think that nuke might
They're
actually
not
work
live
out.
yet.
I think that nuke might actually work out.
Okay.
I can't believe someone vetoed Inferno against that MIBR. That's an interesting choice by ENCE, in my opinion, based on what I've seen from their Inferno. I don't know what to think about this. I feel like ENCE is falling into some kind of trap. It definitely feels that way. Bach's not going to tell us any info. He's a steel trap.
That or I just forgot because I'm old, frail. You can see by this bald head, you know, there's not a whole lot going on up there. Still, I'm not necessarily counting MIBR out with that nuke pick. Yeah. I actually have in my notes, I thought it was going to be a 2-1.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see them taking nuke and making it a 2-0.
I feel like this is an excellent map, like best of 3 for MIBR. Almost the best possible because they left nuke in as a trap, right? They knew if they left that in, ENCE would pick it. Otherwise, they would have just vetoed it like they do against every team. So they have some kind of pocket strats prepared. They also beat ENCE last time they played them on train. And Fallen has always been a god at calling on overpass and opping the toilets. So this is the best case scenario. This is, you know, MIBR when they don't have Inferno in the way. They don't have, you know, God knows how many other maps they just have problems on. They have problems on a lot of maps right now. But this is the best case scenario in my opinion.
I think it's the best case scenario for ENCE. I'm going to go the opposite way here.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think Overpass, when I looked back on MIBR's history, I couldn't find very much at all. I just don't. It's been a map that they've consistently vetoed over the course of the past 6 months. And that nuke, sure, ENCE, MIBR might have a pocket pick, pocket strategy, but ENCE barely lost yesterday. Just a few clutches, a few fundamental changes here and there. That 14-16 could have easily been the other way around, and I think this favors ENCE just a little bit, slightly.
Well, if you guys are wondering who's going to win at home, go ahead and hashtag MIBR or hashtag ENCE to cast your vote. Sean, you want to focus on a player, and I believe it's Alu, is that correct?
Oh, no, Mayern.
You're Mayern? Are you Alu? Who's Alu?
I can talk about Alu right now.
I'll talk about. No. I got it.
You got it.
I'll talk about Alu. You guys are just dropping the ball over here. Experts again, just not really helping me out here on the.
Oh, we do have Alu. Okay, so yeah, I think Alu would be the player to watch from ENCE, and mainly being because he's the in-game leader, right? He should be prepared right now and adapting from what we saw yesterday on Nuke, right? Especially if ENCE is going to pick it. What we saw from them yesterday on Nuke was terrible. I hated what I saw at that 13-5 comeback. They just kept getting picked apart. So I think they're going to come with a little bit more cohesion today. Probably a lot more secret control, because once you get down in secret, everything becomes a lot easier on you as an in-game leader, right? Smoke Molly U-Haul, plant the bomb, and just play post plants. ENCE tried to make things way too difficult yesterday, and I think it's also going to be on Sergey to play that close hut position like he did yesterday. Their CT side was solid, but from an in-game leader point of view, I think he could be anti-stratted based on what I saw yesterday. So that worries me a bit.
I guess that does worry me as well. I think they were a bit overzealous. We saw them consistently being over-aggressive, but that did result in them being able to retake the bomb sites on multiple occasions. We talked about how successful Gen.G was getting into those bomb sites, but it was ENCE to just take it right back into their favor. And they actually ended that first half 10-5, so I think, sure, it was messy, but those are the kinds of mistakes that you can really talk about in the hotel room, hash out those small, minor details, make it onto the stage, because it wasn't those missed shots. It wasn't rust that was getting to the better of these ENCE players. It was fundamentals, and I think you're going to be able to change those, make those small changes. Yeah, but at the same point in time, when you look at their recent history, it doesn't exactly put confidence in the team. 0-2 loss to their former IGL, and an 0-2 loss to Godsent. In case you didn't hear me, I said Godsent.
The year is 2020. Godsent.
What is going on? Like, this team should never beat ENCE. That team only recently came together, and it just seems kind of unheard of that they would lose to that team.
I really think it speaks to where the mental where the mental level is right now on ENCE, because these players should not be losing to these teams, but you can tell the community backlash after kicking Alexi P has affected these players. 100%. I don't care what they say in interviews, how cold they try to pretend to be, it has definitely affected them on an individual level. Sunny, this man on your screen, I mean, his stats have been abysmal since joining ENCE. He's a star player. I promise you, if he was to go back in any team, like say Mouse Sports right now, not that they would need him to join their team right now, but he would put up numbers.
Yeah.
But I think something about being on this team increases that pressure level tenfold right now.
I have to agree with you. I'm thinking back on Will, and he is talking about the role identity, solidifying the roles on the complexity side. That really helped catapult and push them forward. Ever since Alexi B's departure, this ENCE lineup haven't had those solidified roles. Each player, we've got Alu pretty much top fragging almost every single match. We've got Sergey kind of absent in his prowess in that server. And Ariel, he was a player that was very, very strong under Alexi B's leadership. So certainly I think it's a huge role issue within this squad.
Now, Potter, you wanted to focus on Mayern, is that correct?
Yeah, Mayern on this MIBR squad. I think yesterday he had a fantastic opening matchup. I do believe that his MIBR team weren't able to really follow up on all his openings and all his success, especially on that Dust 2. So I'm really looking towards these guys to kind of gather around Mayern, because you can see that he's got those mechanical skills to really back him up in that server, and no one else seems to be capitalizing on his aggression.
The similarities between these two teams are honestly crazy. It's crazy to see because, right, MIBR kicked Cold Zera and picked up KNG, and KNG has gotten reamed by the community for his poor performances. He's a star player on other teams. The same thing goes for Sunny, though.
Yeah.
It's the parallels between both of those two players on their teams right now. You would think there would be upgrades in their spots. It just hasn't panned out.
Two teams at the top that made a change to try to get to the very top,
Yeah.
and it backfired.
Yes.
And they're in desperate need of success, or change could be right around the corner. Prediction time, Potter, what do you got?
I'm going with ENCE here. I'm going to say that ENCE are going to take this one. I do believe it's going to be very close, but I believe in ENCE bringing it out.
Yeah, I think I've done the whole I don't play Nuke, let's try to like anti-strata team. Doesn't work out, trust me. It's very hard to do that on a map like Nuke, so I think ENCE still wins Nuke, and they knew for a fact MIBR was picking Train, so I have to say ENCE.
Vamos, Brazil, I'm going with MIBR. I'm going to put faith in my man Zeus. He's been doing work behind the scenes. I trust that he's going to go ahead and bring home the W. Twitch chat, you guys have also been voting at home. Kind of curious to see if you guys line up, because in the past, you guys have gone in a different direction. There you go, a slight edge to MIBR.
Brazilian fans are awake today.
Yeah, yesterday it was weird.
Yeah,
There wasn't really much
quiet.
love. But we are going to throw things to a very quick break. We will be right back in just a bit with MIBR and ENCE. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to DreamHack Open Anaheim, and we have a really interesting face-off. I think the desk really highlighted some of the very interesting storylines behind this. Two teams from very different backgrounds, but very similar stories in the ways that things have panned out for them both. Both are struggling in their respective ways, Dust, but who's going to take this series?
That's a tough one. I mean, they did play each other, I guess, fairly recently at the CSGO Asia Championships back in November, and ENCE did win that series 2-1, but Nuke was not played as a part of that, so that must be said. And Nuke is definitely going to be the battleground into this one. As you said, two teams that are both struggling, two teams that desperately need a win. You have to feel like a group stage exit would be a nightmare for either of these teams. They're both so used to being successful, but lately it has not been that way. Can they have some type of silver lining in this series?
Well, MIBR, again, they don't have any stats on Nuke or Overpass, so it's very interesting to see that this is how things are turning out. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the game plan is here. It's just it's even weird to kind of commentate these names running around this map for me. Yeah. So in terms of MIBR, so it looks like we might have something very interesting on our hands as we look to see what the intentions are for these teams. I'm
going to be real. I can't remember the last time that Made in Brazil played Nuke on LAN. Well, it has to go way on back. Like,
there's no stats on HLTV for it in the last 3 months. So
not even 6 months, I don't think. I think like going back even to like Cologne in July, they haven't played any Nuke. So that is definitely a wild one for me. Meanwhile, ENCE has a problem where they can't win best of threes. Like, they've only won 7 out of their last 17 best of threes that they've had to play. One of which was to Made in Brazil, funnily enough, against CSGO Asia Championships. They did have one other kind of win, so it's just to like a decent team, but a lot of their wins are to like teams like Vici or Movie Star Riders or Tyloo or E-United, so they haven't really had a whole lot of big best of 3 victories, and they really need one, because I mean this team has been spiraling downward ever since Alexa B was unceremoniously removed from the team.
Yes, it's been a lot of interesting roster changes, and it's so hard. It seems like it's so hard to predict what's going on. And you know, we've seen. I always feel like I want to believe in Fallen. I think he's somebody that, with what he accomplished with Luminosity, I think you just can't put it against what he. You know, I mean, just look at what he's achieved and how he's done that. He has achieved like bringing up a squad from Brazil who had no. They didn't have any practice partners. There was no one remotely good enough in the region at the time at which LG became international level contenders. So the way that Fallen was able to achieve that without having the practice partners who were good enough to really elevate his team, it was through just great leadership and getting everybody on the same page in terms of how Counter-Strike works.
Right.
And that's how they played the game. They played it very tactically, very strategically. He helped to usher in an era of strategy when the past era was all about Fnatic being really crazy, individually skilled, and that's how you win matches. The same thing for coming off the NIP era, right before that, also about the individuals. Fallen, he was the guy. It was him and also Na'Vi at the time. They brought the strategy back into Counter-Strike, and so it feels to me like because of achieving that, we should always have faith that he can eventually figure it out.
I think he set the groundwork for what Astralis does today. I mean, I think very much like having that multi-stage strategy on how we approach early round, mid-round, late round, how we make protocols, how we make mid-round decisions, how we call audibles, how we create cadence, how we condition opponents and then build off of that. I think that very much kind of came in the roots of a team like, Fallen. We were talking about, ENCE stats, again, only winning 7 of their last 17 best of 3s and having a pretty rough map record. Same could be said for Made in Brazil. Since KNG has joined the team, they have only won 10 of their 23 best of 3s, mostly against smaller teams. The only real bigger best of 3 wins they've had was EG and Avangar at CSGO Asia Championships, and since Mayern joined the team, they are 4-11 on LAN map record. So they have really had their struggles. They have gone out in last place at Blast Premier and at CS Summit 5, which are the only 2 LANs they've played with Mayern. Prior to that, before Mayern joined the team, a lot of group stage exits at most of the tournaments they were playing in. Again, the only bright spot they really had was the CSGO Asia Championships where they placed top 4. Everything else has been rather disappointing. There's so many times they've been unable to make playoffs, and that isn't really normal for this team, I feel like.
Well, just a quick update for the audience. We do have just a small tech pause. Should just be a few quick minutes here. We're restarting the servers, and we should be back underway. So just an update for you guys. We'll keep you updated if anything changes.
And then going back into Nuke really quick, I mean, this is a map that ENCE historically were quite strong on. It was one of their best maps. I remember they famously stopped Astralis' Nuke streak a while back, which was like a really big marquee moment for the team, and it really helped them along with some of their big results, kind of catapult them to prominence and be one of the top teams in the world. And since the Alexa B departed, though, they're now 2-3. And you know, they're losing to teams like, you know, Godsent, for example, teams that they normally would never lose to in the past. So I feel like ENCE has a lot to prove by, you know, taking this map, getting into Nuke. They should have an advantage considering that there's really nothing to go off of. I mean, I know Made in Brazil have been boot camping a lot recently. Maybe they've worked Nuke into their map pool during that practice period, but you would like to give ENCE the advantage on this map at least.
One thing, though, is that we did see the Nuke of ENCE yesterday. They played Gen G, and they struggled. They actually, like, Gen G had an amazing CT side, but it did look like ENCE had some problems on that T side, finding a good cadence for themselves.
Sure.
As soon as the very aggressive plays got shut down, they didn't seem to have too much play in the rest of their T side. So I do wonder, you know, if there's been some study and so on for MIBR. You know, looking at that Nuke game yesterday, they have a lot of data there as to what ENCE are likely, you know, enjoying doing, and also what was successful for Gen G on their CT side. So it does seem to be the case that also, if you think about Overpass, again, that was a classic Fallen map. Like, he actually innovated that map first in terms of how you play aggressions on the CT sides and so on. So, and also, I mean, if you're someone who ever watched any of his content, he is the guy explaining the fundamental theory of how that map works to audiences on his YouTube channel, to like Games Academy, like when the map first came out. The guy understands like the map very, very well. So I feel like I reckon MIBR are going to win this, Dust.
The series or the map, or
I think
both?
I think they're going to win the series.
Okay.
I'm definitely leaning MIBR. I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah, it's so tough to call again. And we talked about how both these teams are in similar positions and they're suffering from similar things. We talked about how Made in Brazil's had a lot of group stage exits lately. Same could be said for ENCE. They came last at Ice Challenge. You know, they had some tough placings at Beijing and Malmö and you know, ESL1 New York and Blast Moscow, and the list goes on and on. Their only bright moment was also the CSGO A2 Championships, and that's really about it lately. I mean, ever since Alexa B departed, they have just slowly slipped down, you know, the ranking system, and they just never really look quite themselves. They don't really have very many maps they've been able to have positive win rates on in the LAN environment. In fact, I think all of them are negative except for Mirage and Overpass. But again, just limited success through and through. And I think it's the biggest issue, I think, with both of these teams, there's no obvious solution. There's no obvious next step to take if they can't figure things out with the lines that they have currently. The one thing I will say is, I don't know, like, if Sunny can get back on point, they have Sergey, can be an incredible player. Alu, I feel, is often underrated as an opper. I think maybe you could, you know, take stabs at him about maybe him trying to be an in-game leader and how the team's operated underneath his tutelage, but I don't think you can deny the fact that he's a pretty solid opper, and he usually puts up pretty good numbers. And so I think that there's a bit maybe more consistency and firepower on ENCE, but it's so close that I think it's like marginal.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, because if you look at the way that they were during their greatest success, it was also never really about any one individual. It was just they were one of those teams that, I think much like ATK, when ATK jumped onto the scene and started getting threatening results against more tier 1, tier 2 opposition, it wasn't because they were doing something special. They just nailed the fundamentals. And a lot of it comes down to that fundamentals of the T side Counter-Strike, having fast rounds where everyone's together, coordinated. They have great spacing on the trades, and you just play trade-based Counter-Strike. And that was one of the things that ENCE did so well.
Yeah, they were masters of the default in many ways. They had their roles really well defined. Like, I mean, you knew Alexa B, Ariel, Alu, that was kind of your main control group. Sergey and X7, kind of more of like your peripheral players, more supportive. They could flex Sergey into more active roles when need be. And they were really good at staging around. And Alexa B was really good at reading things and making calls. And there's been a lot of debate about how much Alexa B did, if it was overrated, if it was underrated. Results speak for themselves. I don't care what anybody says privately. I care about what's on paper and what's in front of me and what's provable. And what's provable is that ENCE's level of results has certainly declined to Alexa B. So you have a hard time convincing me then that Alexa B wasn't responsible for a lot of the team's success. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm wrong, prove it to me. Prove it. Get some results. They haven't had them yet.
Yeah, it's a really, I mean, a lot of people have different opinions on the Alexa B thing and the kind of impact that had. I spoke to Robs recently on my podcast about this, and you know, he was, again, he didn't have any special insight into, you know, what's going on in the team per se, but just from his like how he sees it looking from the outside, he didn't think that the LXCB change had as much to do with it. But obviously LXCB is a good leader, but feels like there's more to the story than just that one player. But again, it's one of those things which is almost impossible to answer because Counter-Strike in itself, like sometimes when you have a really, really great team, it just kind of clicks one day, and no one can necessarily say why or why not. And I think if you look at the old Cloud9 roster that made that major run, they were another one of those rosters that just, for some reason, it just works. It just works, and if you take out one of those pieces, it's probably going to break. I mean, well, it did. It did break when you took out a couple of those pieces. So it's such an unknown quantity sometimes. What makes a team more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, it's tough. When you look at the Made in Brazil side of things, we've been on ENCE a bit. I feel like they've kind of lost their way as well. Like, I feel like they don't look nearly as structured as past Fallen teams have. Past Fallen teams have been, in their own right, masters of structured CS, even at times innovative with some of their utility on certain maps. Their roles were always quite well-defined. I mean, on this team, in the past, Fallen was always that Opera in-game leader combination, Taco, a support, hybrid entry type player on the edges of the map. Fur was that trustworthy, aggressive player that could create openings, do wild, crazy, aggressive plays, catch people off guard, but be that true warrior that could go in first and create space, or maybe even just outright find the kills you need to open up rounds, and kind of everything kind of molded around that. But now I feel like you've seen kind of indecision. They brought KNG on to be the primary opper. He was doing that for some time, but lately Fallen's been opping again instead of KNG, or they'll really rely a lot on the double op. But that's enough podcasting for now, Dan. I think we can go ahead and just focus on the game itself. We're finally here on Nuke. ENCE starting out on the T side. Let's see how things shake up.
So the classic opening, you get the HE on the squeaky door, you get the smoke through that to create some pressure, keep the CTIs, just suspicious of that squeaky door position. Will they go down the vent, and so on and so forth. And then now we get some cross smokes for the Ts as well outside. So supplying that pressure, Fallen the first point of contact here with the USP. It's labored, but he does find that headshot eventually, even maybe getting a reload off. This is looking quite good for Fallen. KNG able to provide an additional helping hand there to take down Sunny, and outside is under lock and key for the Brazilians.
But look at this, Sergey sneaking through ramp room unspotted, but he does get traded out pretty efficiently if we're fair about it. Only getting that one kill, that's not going to be enough to bring this one back over to their side as Taco and KNG finish things off, and they did such a great job bailing Fallen out. Like, Fallen looked like he was trapped. He was having to force a reload in a really tough situation, but KNG and company had his back, and they were able to put something together. I know that they had a pretty serious boot camp coming into this tournament from what I understand, and so hopefully it'll show throughout this series. Certainly it showed in that round that they were on the same page and helping each other out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something for me that I'll be looking out for in this matchup is, can MIBR deal with the really aggressive, fast-paced play from ENCE on ENCE's T side? Because yesterday, what we saw was ENCE, when everything's fast, that's when they're at their best. But as soon as Gen G were able to stop those fast plays from working, ENCE looked a little bit lost. So if MIBR can control those faster paces, they'll probably be good to go when ENCE start running those slower defaults.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, they didn't change all that much on ENCE. I feel like a lot of the ways they open rounds are very similar to how they used to open rounds in the past. I think that a lot of the roles and a lot of, like, kind of the overall, I guess, game plan is not unlike what they did before, which kind of happens, right? Usually there's kind of this carryover period whenever you change in-game leaders where you won't really drastically modify what you do. You'll kind of keep into your roots and keep what you're comfortable with, and you'll try to make as smooth of a transition as you can as far as like role replacement. Like, so Sunny probably is playing a lot of the things that LXCB would have, kind of being that guy that can then be aggressive with aerial. Alu's still opping, Sergey and X7 still kind of doing a lot of their same things, but it's about trying to implement them as effectively, having the execution down, and that is where I feel like things have slipped off a bit. I think when you watch an ENCE demo these days, it's not as if the way they approach the opening of a round looks like too horrible or something. Like, it's not like they completely forgot how to play Counter-Strike. It's just how they handle the chaotic moments, and also I feel like the individual form has gone down. Alu's still pretty okay with AWP. He hasn't really diminished very much, but Sergey certainly took a huge hit. Sunny certainly has never really gotten back to the form he was on in mouse sports, and X7 and Aerial have plummeted. That they're nowhere near as powerful as they used to be. And in fact, in some ways, I think Aerial was a bit overrated. So, yeah, I think that it's about trying to figure out not only the structure of the team, but how to get these players back in form. and they coincide with each other, right? Because when you do have the structure figured out, everyone feels more comfortable with how they're playing, and that helps, bring up your rating and such.
Yeah, I know, again, that it can be really misleading sometimes when we don't sort of know precisely what's happening within the team.
Sure.
Because,
all we can do is speculate.
Yeah, exactly. And because, for example, I know, that a lot of the ENCE guys, they put in a lot of work and hours, and sometimes, we can easily speculate that, the individual performance isn't looking good because there's not enough hours, but it could more so be down to the fact that from a team strategy standpoint, they're not able to put their players in positions of opportunity enough. And then that can just be a terrible situation sometimes, and it will, like, Train is a great example for that, because if your team strategically isn't doing the right things, it looks awful on the T side, because none of your star players can even get into a spot to actually fight somebody.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're talking about here. And so that's one of the things with the ENCE players. Before they were just like this swarm that would just run over you, but now it looks like they are struggling to get that gear going like they used to. And it reminds me, of Fnatic a little bit. Dust, the era of Fnatic, whereby they, had that initial dominance, and then they were chasing it. They kept remaking the Fnatic roster, trying to chase that dominance that they had back in, when was it, 2016?
Yeah, certainly.
When they were playing that really low style and kind of playing to the older identity, trying to recapture something of the past as opposed to innovate something new.
Right.
And I think a lot of teams have suffered that. Especially like FaZe is another one that suffered that process as well.
Right. So we're actually, just to update all of you out there, to be transparent what's going on here, apparently one of the coaches is having issue with one of his microphones. And so that's what they're trying to sort out on stage. Obviously, they want their coach to be able to communicate with the team during timeouts and all that good stuff. So they want to be able to get that sorted out. And that's definitely a very important thing to have. So that is what we're kind of trying to sort out right now. As you can see on stage, the tech team is definitely trying to get that wrapped up as quickly as they can. And we figured maybe you want to hear about Counter-Strike a little bit while we wait for that to happen. So that's kind of what we're hashing out here.
We could have thrown to a break, but we're like, no, we're gonna
fill a little bit here. And
chin wag.
But you were talking about like ENCE's individual form and speculating on why that might be the case and how some of their players have struggled. Again, I want to kind of maybe try to equally distribute criticism here. We could talk about Made in Brazil having similar problems. Like a lot of their players have also not really had the same form that we're used to seeing, right? Like I feel like it's been a lot less often that Fur has had the level that we expect to see. And same could be said for Fallen, who's had to take on different roles with KNG's acquisition. And even KNG, I feel like, never settled into this team as well as he had been on previous teams in the past, as this is kind of his second chance, right? I don't want to get like too much into the drama of the past, but certainly he looked like this rising, upcoming talent. He looked like he was going to be a prospect, and he kind of shot himself in the foot a bit, but now this is his chance at redemption, and so far it's been kind of a seesaw level of performance from him, where sometimes it looks great, other times it doesn't. And again, you have to wonder, is it because they're struggling to figure out what roles they want to use? Is it a strategy thing? Is it just individually not feeling it in their own head? It's in the mental game as well. So there is so much that goes into it, and I'm not really sure what the solution really is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's hard to find yourselves again. It's that reinventing yourself and instead of chasing what you once were, and I think that, like as you say, we're Fallen going like cycling through all of these roles, and then for them to base, then everyone at the same time is thinking, we understand that you're trying to reinvent things, but actually at the same time, Fallen had perhaps he's one of the most difficult ops to play against at the top level. I think pretty much every top level AWPer has that answer, that Fallen, when he's doing Fallen things, when he's up close and personal, when he takes those intuitive reads of the game and then decides this is a cool push to make right now. He's very unpredictable. He always knew where to get that AWP, and it was always a surprise. And he delivers from those positions almost better than any other AWPer in the world, especially in his prime. And so then you have all these people who would rightfully say, you know what, actually, isn't it kind of a waste? You have a guy that can do something with a weapon that almost nobody else can do in the world, and surely we should be having him on the team doing that.
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, you got KNG on the team, so
and you want to
let
him put his best foot forward, right? But luckily, KNG also is a pretty good entry rifler. I feel like in the past I've seen him do really well with rifles in his hands when he had to play alongside Henny. Sometimes they would kind of juggle who was the primary upper on that team. So it's not as if he's not used to the situation. And just to kind of talk things through, again, we're on Nuke, and the last time that Made in Brazil played Nuke was almost a year ago. It was IM Sydney 2019 was the last time they played it. That was back in May of 2019. So that's definitely something you got to think about going into this map is how prepared is Made in Brazil really for a game of Nuke? I mean, yeah, they might have practiced it. They might have stuff going on in the boot camp, but they haven't had it in an official match setting in a very long time. And it'll be interesting to see if it pans out for them as we're taking a look at Mayern up there, hanging out. We're just all hanging out, just waiting to get that coach mic sorted out.
Coaches, that's an interesting point of discussion as well. I think that that's going to be a role which, as time goes on, is going to be more and more and more of a focus.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, someone can correct me. I might shoot myself in the foot here, but I'm pretty sure DreamHack coaching rules is you can talk during freeze time, every freeze time. I don't think it's limited to just the 4 timeouts, and so that is obviously something that some tournaments do that others do not. Obviously, the majors famously only allow it during timeouts, and I feel like that is like the compromise we all want, is to see coach talking during freeze time, and that's a sick keyboard, my man.
Does that belong to Sunny? Okay, no.
Them gold keys.
I was gonna say, Sunny, he's got the hype beast streak in him,
Okay.
and but that's pretty baller.
dope. I like that. I'm a fan.
Pretty ballin'.
All the RGBs.
Damn.
All the RGBs. Gold keys.
There's Sunny. Sunny's an incredibly hard worker, someone who's got incredibly good mechanics as well. Might be the best mechanical player on the team. When he's on form, it really looks quite disgusting. And again, he's someone that I asked Rops a lot about because they had quite a close connection when they played on the 2018 Mouse Sports lineup together, and from similar cultures, Estonia and Finland and so on. But you know what? I've got to hold that thought. And we are back into the game.
Yeah, I'm curious about Sony too, because he obviously had like an 8-month break between Mouse Sports and ENCE, so he's had to really work himself back into form, and it hasn't quite come into fruition just yet, but maybe it can today. Ariel the one dealing blows though right now, but Mayern quick to respond with that AUG, but look at the pistols popping off for ENCE. They're keeping this very, very interesting. Luckily, it seems, never mind, I thought Taco was going to add some order to this chaos, but instead, Sunny puts us into a 1v1. This is madness.
Yeah, he's only got 2 bullets, and he doesn't want to reload just yet. He doesn't want to give away the sound cue. He has so much time on the clock, he's going to reset the situation completely, and he's going to walk all the way around the outside. And KNG, he's just going to try to do his best to take a catch-all position. So much time is going to have passed that eventually KNG, everything becomes a question to him. So he's going to actually go into the hut, and there's so much time for Sunny to move around that there's so many things that are possible here, which I can't even go into all the different options for both players.
Yeah, you need to just go into Benedict Cumberbatch's brain as he plays the character in Avengers, Doctor Strange, and then you can calculate all the possibilities and come back to us.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
What do you think?
Well, it looks like, Sunny's in a spot right now where he's killed actually so much time on the clock, and you won't have, the bomb's in such an exposed position. It creates questions about Heaven, as you can see. So, and he's not really got time to go down the vents at this point if he picks up the bomb. So he might not be leaving himself with enough time here. He's picked up a FAMAS meanwhile. It's going to have to be a ridiculous reactive shot here. At least he was able to get the reload off. Picks up the bomb, but again, there's no time to really go. There's no time. He hasn't left himself time to do this. He's going to have to go for the desperation plant in the smoke, and that's just so obvious here for KNG. Surely, as he wraps around the smoke, and Sunny, he kind of outplayed himself there, Dust. There were loads of options until the timer, he left it so late that there was none.
I think maybe he was doing that. He was trying to come up with all the different options in his head, but he just didn't pick one fast enough and really put himself in a tough situation. Made in Brazil do just barely grab that one, though it does come at a huge cost, and they have to rebuy so many players right now. So by the skin of their teeth, they do get it done. But with that, ENCE will be able to start buying some weapons. You see some Galils coming out, a couple of AKs. Sergey also going to find that Galil. The Galil, a very powerful weapon nowadays since the most recent update to the game with the price and changing the accuracy of the spray and all that good stuff and the reset of it. So definitely can still pack a punch.
Yeah, it feels really good now for sure. And there's no smoke to coming across, and KNG's pretty happy to take the fight, but you can shoot through that. And indeed, he's going to get taken down eventually, but Fallen is doing great work with the Scout. He is someone that is so well known for Scout shenanigans, and Fur holds down HUD as well. It looks like ENCE are struggling to get the response that they needed in this round. They took some gambles, and Fur, he has great intuition. Look at that. He knows to check that spot. Very smart that they back away from that one. And now what do you do? 2 versus 4. There is time, but that's pretty much all there is in terms of what you have going for you in the ENCE shoes.
Alu here trying to pave way towards outside, but Fallen's got that scout, and again, he is so deadly with this weapon. He's the classic guy you think about scouting, and there he is again, the OG scout master. I think Fox gets a run for his money nowadays, but still, Fallen's good for a good scout shot, and that's another one. That's 3 to his name in the round, all on X7 now. Trying to creep out the already open squeaky door, so no squeak needed, no WD-40 needed to lubricate those hinges. Able to silently walk his way out into upper, but what can he really do? He does have bomb, but it's not long for this world, is he? For finding that one 3-0 start for the Brazilians.
Yeah, great stuff from them there. You know, Fallen really making that scout sing, and the gamble for events was an aggressive one, just going outside, no smokes to go for the cross, and Fallen has hit some very nasty shots there. Beautiful stuff, and that's gonna send ENCE into save territory again. And I think what's interesting here as well is that ENCE, a fast play is surely coming. Once they start to like lose grip of things, that is definitely their comfort zone. So I feel like MIBR will expect very aggressive plays in the next gun round. Oh no, Fallen's gonna get annihilated there by Sunny. Great shot there with those deagles, and all of a sudden, just like that, ENCE are looking very dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. Taco trying his damnedest to hold on to outside right now. Sunny, though, has creeped up above, and it's going to come down to timing whether or not Taco sniffs this thing out or not. Does just spot it. Sunny not ready. Taco going to put it between his eyes and put his team another step forward, as it is now a 3-on-2. These pistols have been pesky, but not pesky enough to push the round off of Made in Brazil, at least not yet. But there is still time to find things to do, as they both seem to be heading towards lower now. Could maybe get a plan out of this.
Trying to work those spaces as best as they possibly can to find something, and there is potential. Deagle trained in on the vent drop is not going to catch a quick headshot. That's unfortunate, so that option's now gone for ENCE. It's just on Alu, long range with the P250. Caught out in the open, and Taco will finish him off nicely for another round here for MIBR, converting again. And they don't take too much damage out of this round. I think ENCE will be happy they got a bomb plant and a couple kills. I think both teams, it's one of those spots where both teams are kind of cool with what they got out of the round. And now we're going to get into that really interesting situation, Dust. We've got that next gun round for ENCE, and I really am expecting like a fast upper or something similar, like a mid-round set piece onto the upper bomb site, something of that nature.
Definitely could be in the cards. We did see some of that yesterday. Again, it's kind of hard to go for fast upper plays when CTs actually have the utility to stuff hut and squeaky door and force you to take damage or waste utility extinguishing or slowing you down. But also they have the option for the typical outside smoke wall plays. You know, maybe eventually even sticking Alu at long range with an op or something outside to try to find picks. But this round there will not be a sniper in play for the Finns. It'll just be rifles across the board. Are going to be throwing their Mauais and such at the top. Mayern, though, somehow finding this little sliver to stay on top of, to be unfazed by the fire. And ENCE actually do not play off of that. They actually all back up, and now they're setting up their smoke wall outside.
The cool thing about this as well is you get these CTs to invest some counter utility on that upper bomb site. So you're going to be able to keep track of what they've used, what they haven't used. And the option to re-execute later in the round is also up there for the ENCE team as they now progress through the outside. And they've got those outside smokes. Now, there could be two things for them to do at this point. They either go down to secret, or this is all a fake. And KNG is about to find out it's not a fake. And the peak, there's the swing. KNG falls back. There's the incendiary. They cannot trade that frag. Huge win. Huge win for MIBR here. ENCE now, they're going to have to figure out something else to do, because that isn't a no-go down there in secret for now.
It's called the scramble. Like, that's what they have to do now. The initial plan has failed. Now they must try to collect themselves, call an audible, and find a way still out of this round with a good result. It's going to be a tough task, but maybe they'll be up to it, as Taco, having to worry about this backstab through heaven, will start to take position here underneath the ladder and make sure that he at least has this angle somewhat covered, though there is still players jumping above him that he may not realize just yet. It's going to be X7 and Alu now. He might be hearing the pitter-patter of footsteps on metal, and there you see it. Mayern is certainly prepared for this very attack, but he still doesn't land the shot, and it starts opening up this upper side with Fur. He's certainly up for it. He's found 3 already. That might be just enough. With the help of Taco, they get the job done. The 5-0 start for Made in Brazil.
And this is such a great start, and this is what I was worried about from for ENCE is that they don't seem to have, like when they play these slower rounds, they don't seem to get the results that they want. And that first initial big win, KNG shutting down the secret position, was so huge, because at that point, MIBR know exactly what ENCE have available to them. It's basically two options, but we've got a faster one on our hands. Here's the spray through the door. Not going to land too much, but enough here to really weaken 3 players for finishing off 1. They know that down the vents is being exposed as Fallen drops down to try to chase, but ENCE, it's really on them to make the next move here. As Taco anticipates that push that surely must be coming from Rap at some point. Oh, he's so good, isn't he? Taco knows everything.
Man, it's really tough when you keep suffering the opening blow. I mean, it seems like every round lately, Made in Brazil has gotten the opening kill of that very round.
Oh, no.
And there you see Fallen finding Alu. That's a tough one. That's really starting to crush all the remaining options for ENCE. But Aerial does at least find a pick here towards Ramp Room. It gives them some hope, but they're still so far behind.
It's been a while since I saw a non-Brazilian player get affected by the mouse wheel bug. I don't know if there's really all that much going for ENCE here in terms of breaking these 2 choke points. It'll be very difficult. They're kind of at a standstill. There's no other option but to try. Trying to take that right-eye peek, and it might work just as the smoke goes away. Fallen sneaks away just in time, just before that smoke goes away. And is repositioned to a very good angle, and that is why he gets some damage. It falls back safely. Flashbang goes out. He wants to peek with the flash. It's a big play. It doesn't work. In fact, maybe Fallen would have wanted to try to delay here because he committed himself, and that's given a chance to ENCE. Here come the CTs now working from both control and decontamination, making their way forward. Sunny swinging on the side of the smoke up to Aerial now. They've fashioned a 1v1 out of this, which is quite crazy. There's the molly. Oh no, Aerial straight past it, and he's gonna nail it. Great stuff there from Aerial. Forces his way past the Molotov. And you know what? I feel like Fallen gave up too much there. He had position, Dust. He could have just stayed alive in control room. He takes the fight with no support, and that gave the opposition a chance before the rotation was into plant.
It's actually insane that they still almost lost, though. Aerial, I think, had 2 HP left. If KNG could have maybe just bought a bit more time, he might have just burned to death. That was kind of a weird situation, but nonetheless, it does finally go ENCE's way, and certainly you could point to that move by Fallen. You know, wanting to peek for the flash. Maybe he thought the time was low. He could get another kill and slow them down even more, stop them from being able to get a bomb plant and buy more time for a rotation. But at the same time, he kind of gave up what was, I think, weren't they in like a 5-on-2 before he died? I think Taco may have died just before him. But yeah, they definitely seem to have a lot of control of that, then let it slip.
What is really cool so far, though, generally speaking, for MIBR, is that they have been almost... well, basically every round they put themselves in pretty big advantages, and they're consistently doing that. They always have an answer, positionally or timing-wise, but could hold that full. We got a fast push down the vent here with 2 players dropping very quickly. Fur in the hut position is going to have to investigate into lobby, and he pushes out, and he will be met by the AWP of Alu, and this is looking very chaotic, and this is what we're talking about with ENCE. The fast stuff, that's what works really well for them sometimes. They've got a bomb down on the lower site. This is chaos.
Looking good for ENCE to find their second in a row, unless Taco, Mayern, and KNG can say something about it here on this retake towards the lower side. KNG actually does catch Sergey here with AWP towards the ramp room, and that gives them 1 more kill towards the retake, but it seems more and more likely like they're just looking to save these weapons. They've really made no advances forward, so with their economy as low as it is, you can't blame them for just wanting to scamper away with what weapons they do still have left. So that does give the Finns another round on the board, though. So they're starting to craft a little bit of something here on the attacking side after the 5-0 start from Made in Brazil.
There it is. It could be the start of something off the back of that previous round, which was really crazy, where it's a situation where, you know, Fallen might be a bit unhappy with himself, kind of playing off of a feeling, I think, going for that maybe slight overextension. And that's Counter-Strike for you. Just 1 slight overextension, and the other team has a lot to work with. And you know, they have to prove that they can change something here, though. Because generally speaking, MIBR have been dealing with everything. So
yeah, tend to agree with that. Full buy here still for both teams, though it is a bit limited for ENCE. They do have X7 on a Galil. Also an SMG and a FAMAS in play for Made in Brazil. So Oh my goodness, that's almost a dangerous time there for Taco, but he does escape away from it all, able to even stand firm with the M4. That's going to be 3 kills from Taco, and KNG also chiming in with an op kill. Leaves it all to Sunny. A nice shot on the Taco, but still not long for this world, you'd have to imagine.
What a sick hold from Taco. That's so insane. And Mayon will finish things off for him. Oh my god, that's so disgusting. And especially when he's in that 1v1 towards the end, Taco, that is. Just like how he's just not peeking. It's going to be so frustrating if you're KNG. Not KNG, sorry. What am I talking about?
It's okay, Dan.
Whoever it was left here.
That's fine. It was Sunny, I believe, in the end.
Sunny. Very frustrating for Sunny.
Yes.
So very well played by Taco. Just the jiggles just were perfect there. And
yeah.
I
thought he was about to get dominated because he had a nade in his hand, and it looked like they actually had pushed past the smoke and were going to catch a timing on him, but somehow able to drop down, recover, wound up with 3 kills. KNG helped kind of divert some of the attention when he took his peek from Turnpike, but that's wild stuff.
He did a great job, and you know, ENCE, they haven't really gone for too many heavy investments towards ramp, so the fact that, you know, I mean, Taco is one of those players, you know, Taco is one of those guys on your team that he doesn't need to be having much action to be feeling it. You know, he can be on like a dead bomb site for, you know, good 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds, and he'll still be just as good. You know, some players, they need to be in the action to keep their form up, but Taco, you know, he's always ready for it.
Again, the utility comes out very quickly towards upper, especially the Molotovs on top of the hut, but Fur has found a corner that has been left unscathed. And so we'll be able to maintain this position. Again, it does bait out counter utility from Made in Brazil, but in a way, also not, because their fire doesn't get full coverage on top hut, so they don't have to like waste something to extinguish. So maybe they're not getting as much as they hope out of it. They're still trying to make their way out into upper, but it may not be enough, though the entries are starting to pour in.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good here, but there is a player that dropped onto the site. Mayon's ready, and he'll take down one, and Fallen swings up for the second, and they have a perfect crossfire there. The timing couldn't have gone more poorly for ENCE in that final moment of the round. That shouldn't have looked so easy, but you know what? Look at the timing of this. It's just too insane.
That was crazy how much the momentum of that round changed in the blink of an eye. You know, all of a sudden, ENCE is popping off entries, looking like they're actually going to control the site, and then right there, 3 kills in a flash, getting Made in Brazil up 7-2. Now just pistols for ENCE.
We can see that KNG is the guy kind of holding the AWP here, and it makes a lot of sense because Fallen is that more up-close battle sniper, and so it makes sense that KNG gets that dedicated AWP when you're holding angles such as that outside. And Taco, you know, he's been performing really well so far this game.
Absolutely. 10 kills and 9 rounds played, 121 ADR, so certainly up to the task thus far in this one.
Very nice start from him. Off one. Second kill goes his way. Just keeps isolating them into 1v1s. They can't seem to trade him. Such great work, and he'll stay alive. And quick note, actually, is that he smashed one of the panels of glass as he was falling down. And that is to make sure that if the plant does happen, his teammates have options, if they have control room, to be able to escape through the glass without having it broken, you know, having to break it and give away their advantage. So it's kind of a very small detail, but smashing the glass there for future.
Absolutely. All the small details can add up. 8-2 lead here for Made in Brazil. Again, their first Nuke game in almost a year on LAN. And they're off to a hot start. ENCE's pick is starting to backfire a bit. Fallen now up close, trying to avoid all the utility, trying to stay alive and buy time. KNG, in the meantime, with AWP, also alert to this outside take and has a kill to his name to show for it.
Is Fallen just walking behind Ali there?
Yes.
Oh, man. That's one way to clear it. That's one way to clear the push, is to have someone flank it, and he's been spotted. This is so weird.
Yeah, this is awkward. Like, if he could have got that kill, it's all good, but now he's in a tough spot. But luckily, KNG has been handling things quite nicely also with the AWP, but Alu does get through, gets that kill, gets the AWP, and Ariel pitches in also, and now we're all even.
What a timing there onto Fallen. Alu completely outplayed Fallen in this round. Very unfortunate for MIBR. They had a somewhat, you know, non-standard setup as far as they're concerned, but it hasn't worked out for their favor at least. ENCE will get that upper bomb site under control. And so MIBR have just been completely out-positioned here. There may not be nothing to do but save their guns at this point.
Yeah. It's tough because it was a good idea, and like Fallen was trying something different outside, playing more up front. Yeah, maybe having a chance to backstab. In an alternate universe, he gets a kill on the flank and everything unravels for ENCE, but instead he gets busted, he gets caught up, doesn't find the kills, winds up getting timinged on ramp room, and then that's all she wrote. The Finns are back on the board.
Yeah, because the normal CT reaction is, okay, they have the smokes outside, we have someone that's rotated down through that can kind of, if they get contact, they can drop a smoke, they can slow play it, they can, so in that case, Alu, yeah, he gets down, but then he gets slowed down by the smoke. So no one's out of position, but there it is on Fallen to actually kill, he has to, like, actually just has to get the kill there. And they put themselves in definitely an awkward position.
Yeah, it put too much stress on KNG, having to have two minds about what was going on. He got 2 kills as well before he went down, so he was doing his job, but this became overwhelming, and that's so crazy to get those. But in the end, it's still going the way of Alu, Ariel, and company after those kills. And so 8-3 is now the score. Full buys for both sides. Plenty of utility as well.
Oh dear, that's a great opening. I was about to say it's beginning to look more promising for ENCE, but that's certainly a good way to start the round. They have an aggressive outside take, so this is actually a problem for, I was about to say a problem for ENCE, but Alu does actually catch KNG as he backs away. And now Fallen's playing mini, and he's a little bit worried about Squeaky as well. This is a very scary position. He tries to play the advantage of his angle, and it's gonna work out beautifully well. 2 quick kills for Fallen, and now it's a 2v4. ENCE looked set up for greatness there, but Fallen shuts it down.
Yeah, big individual play there from Fallen, no question. And now Fur might be the final nail in the coffin of this round for the Finns. Indeed, it will be the backstab through Radio Room. Ends it. 9-3 now the score, but Fallen has to be given so much credit. Such great work. Him and KNG kind of swapped a little bit there. KNG having the AWP instead, and I'm sure you'll see even double up maybe at some point. Just shows you some of the diversity that they have with those players and what roles they might play.
It just seems so difficult for ENCE to gain traction. So they don't seem to be able to find that momentum. They're going for another fast play down the vent. Again, it's been fairly effective in some of these rounds. Getting 3 players that will be able to very quickly dart their way down the vent position. And there is no CT presence on the lower bomb side. They have completely outpositioned MIBR. You see if KNG will hold this position, but there's still so much early utility that can be used to shut down these choke points that KNG's only been opened up to this left eye peak. This is the worst peak of the 2. That's why the right side's been smoked. And you want to leave this one open and molly it. We'll get a smoke there. They are swimming in utility, so they're going to shut down any possibility. There's 2 players that need to make their way across to the side. They can't quite get there.
Time is ticking is the really big problem, even though it's like one of those weird post-plant 5-on-5s. The CTs are just not getting the space they need. Now they're starting to press forward. They need to find these kills quickly. Again, back and forth the round goes, leaving it into a 3-on-2 when it's all said and done. And very quickly, Sergey stamps things out. So 9-4 is the scoreline. And starting to creep into the game. They've won 2 of the last 3. They snapped that big winning streak that Main Brazil had early on in the game. Starting to find their footing on some of these lower takes, I think, is a big factor.
Oh, such a struggle this half so far, friends. But they are getting some rounds on the board. Let's see if they can get any more here. Once again, making MIBR respect the squeaky door position. They've been able to get so much value through there. And oh my god, pushing from absolutely every single position. MIBR will crush the push before it can get started, leaving just Ali remaining in the mini position as he looks for a frag, but Fur has his number. It will shut it down with ease, and that'll be 10-4. MIBR once again denying ENCE ever the opportunity to get more than 1 round in a row.
That is insane stuff. I mean, we're starting to see some of these rounds go blindingly fast, Dan. I mean, it's hard to keep up with the pacing of how some of these things have played out. You could probably capture that whole round in a quick replay, to be honest. It was just devastating for Made in Brazil. They have looked so sharp on this CT side overall. Limited success for ENCE. Now again, we're seeing quick outside take from KNG. He's here so fast, they do not expect it. He's only good for 1, though. Great conversion from ENCE on what could have been a very precarious situation. There's a team killing all of it, but they still do have a 3-on-2, but low health on a couple of their players, but it may not matter as the kills come in anyhow. 10-5 is how the half closes. Those final rounds were so chaotic, and we'll have to see if it continues on that way after the break. Stay tuned.
Now you tell all of my friends I'm the fool, I'm just trying to get by. Cuando yo te vi, sentí que eras para mí. Te quiero descubrir y yo no quiero compartir. Tus ojos brillan fuera de tu control. Cuando yo te vi, sentí que eras para mí hoy. Ay, 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 te voy a enseñar, te voy a silenciar.
Welcome back to DreamHack Open Anaheim, and it's going to be really interesting to see the conclusion of this one, Dust, because MIBR, they're opening up this series with a very surprising, like, the ability to play Nuke, because they don't have this map on record in the last 3 to 6 months, yet they're looking fantastic, and they're looking to finish things off here in style as they move on to the second half.
Again, they haven't played it since IEM Sydney. That's May of 2019. I think it was like an overtime loss to Liquid or something like that. They did have 1 win on it, though, as well against Fnatic. So they played it 3 times at Sydney, and since then, no games on LAN. But off to a great start. It is worth noting that ENCE yesterday did have a pretty good CT side nuke against Gen G. That was not the reason they lost the game, that's for sure. It was their T side that left lacking, and same story here so far.
A very quiet, passive dance at the moment from both teams. And they don't have to do anything here but hold their positions and just respond, and respond they will. Aerial, nice first headshot, looking to follow things up though. Will be traded immediately. Great spacing from MIBR as they begin to crunch the upper bomb site. And Sergey scoped for the chase here, but he's on the reload, blocking his teammate. Very awkward, but still somehow also flawless. So, you know, we'll give it to them. We'll give it to them. And that's the round that they needed to start things off nicely, get that economy going right off the bat.
It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. Let's say that. Got a bit crazy there on that escape plan through Hut, but they do get all the kills. SMGs are now going to be out aplenty. M4 for Sunny. No bomb plant, no nothing from Made in Brazil, so they will just kind of be hanging out. Did have a tactical timeout actually come in right away from Made in Brazil. Surprising to see it come out so early. Not sure if they have some type of game plan they want to run through again, or if it's more of like a mental reset after, you know, having a tough loss in that round, but they are going to talk things over a bit extra. They actually, I guess, are trying to plan what they want to buy, because without the bomb plant, there's no like way to really save and go for a full buy in round 3 of the half, so they're actually going to piece together what they can, and includes a couple of MAC 10s, some upgraded pistols, and a bit of utility. So probably just talking over what strat they wanted to run this round. It's probably going to be some type of set piece, you'd imagine.
Looking for some faster pressure there. Looking to get ahead of it with these SMGs. Very fast movement. It's working out for MIBR as they get some trades into the bomb site. Ali running through the flames. Oh my goodness, he can't quite follow up very quickly. And that will be the end of him. KNG swings through for the trade as well, back into the lobby position, leaving Sunny alone on the upper bomb site. And MIBR, they stole themselves away with a man advantage as well as the bomb. And they could go absolutely anywhere on this map right now because they have all the time in the world.
And all the space. Sunny, so limited in what he can do now. He doesn't have a kit either, so that means he needs to work quickly after this bomb gets planted to have time to defuse. Luckily for him, they have weaker weapons and they're both low on health, so that does help him out a bit. But again, no clue where they're really at, so he has to spend a lot of time just trying to clear angles and try to locate these remaining 2 members on this post plant, and he has to give himself away in the process, opening up the door at Decon. They know exactly what's ahead of them now, and he may just have to back off, honestly.
Yeah, there's not really all that much in the way of good options for Sunny, and he recognizes this as he ambles his way back out of the vent position towards a safer grounds, safer territory, and he'll keep hold of that weapon.
That's a tough one to lose if you're ENCE. Those are the rounds you want to be collecting. You want to start building that comeback, but you have to give some credit to the craftiness of Made in Brazil. They had a limited buy. They had just enough utility to one play, one maneuver, and it worked out well. I think it was big for Mayern to have the thought to push Hutton and punish Alu, who was really committed to trying to make that flank through work, and wasted so many bullets just getting that first kill. So well done for Mayern, the man from Argentina, the new acquisition.
And they get to slow things down now a little bit. They still have that Mac 10 in hand on Fallen, so that gives him a lot of aggressive options. And, well, KNG's going to go down, it seems. Unfortunate for the MIBR team, but they are on the T side, so not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. And now MIBR will pick up the bomb, get those outside smokes rolling through. They could try to go for a walk down secret. However, Alu is there, but Sunny's also there as well, which is interesting because they could trade out.
Yeah.
And that would put MIBR back in a good spot if they can get these 2 kills.
Seems like it's going to live and die by this play right here, right now. And actually, Alu steps even further forward, Dan. He's looking to go for plays, not just hold the angle. Maybe he's going to catch a timing as well, catching someone trying to run back. The bomb has been tossed down as well because of that action. Finds Mayor and also limited firepower for ENCE. It was just 2 safe rifles, but they're having enough impact, it seems.
Taka really needs to get that kill onto Ariel, but he will survive on 2 HP. If he got that kill, it would be a 2v3. There'd be lots more space to move around. They have bomb control at the moment, but the time is running out. And with it, any good chance for MIBR to win this round as well. They may want to try to take players down here to at least limit what ENCE carry through to the next round. And he goes for with Taco. Can they cobble something together? Looks like they will be completely denied there. Great headshot from Sergey, and he will finish it off with a deagle as well. Very nicely done by ENCE. And you know what? The last round, it was pretty depressing, Dust, but they managed to redeem themselves.
Yeah, the back and forth starts already. The last 5 rounds of the second half were 1 for 1. And the same thing carries over for the first 3 rounds of this half. So no stringing together of rounds thus far throughout the bulk of these last rounds. As the crowd's starting to build up here in Anaheim. Lovely faces out there watching the game. Saw some Brazilian fans out there as well. Saw some flags being waved around. So definitely a team that some of the locals are very much fond of. So they are based here.
Yeah, absolutely. They I feel like they're natives at this point. They've been here for a good few years. In fact, the Brazilian guys, you know, they moved.
2015 they moved over?
Yeah, exactly. They moved over to moving with Dead, who was the Luminosity, well, became the coach when they were on SK. Close friend of the team. And MIBR looking to keep that trend of the 1-for-1 going. The battle of the force buys.
The economic game of chicken. Don't see it too often, but when it does, it's always a mess that you have to try to keep up with.
It gets difficult here too as well. You don't really have as much to play on those long ranges with. You need that utility to grant you safe passage across these really open grounds of the outside area.
Absolutely.
But ENCE are playing really tentatively too. They're just doing that really very classic passive CT setup on the...
Well, if you're Sunny and you have an SG and you know they don't have smokes to cross, that's actually the perfect thing to do, is just to sit there long range with it and force them to try to dry peek that area. X7 poking and prodding at radio is going to find a kill. KNG quick to trade. That nade, though, is going to do severe damage, especially the fall, and he's down to 26 HP. That's not a lot to work with.
It's interesting, though, because he went for the aggression dust, but at that point, MIBR didn't really have a way to get in anywhere. So ENCE kind of gave him an option to push towards a ramp. Question is what they can do with that, though, because they can't really, MIBR can't really move forwards off of this very quickly, and ENCE have had all the time to rotate already, so they have control room under control.
No smokes to cover as well either, so you can't really safely plant. You don't have any coverage whatsoever. You have to try to just hope you can bait someone out to peek you by throwing down the plant. And actually, they do safely get the plant off without any smoke coverage, which is insane in itself, but ENCE just trying to make sure that they lock up the round, not necessarily prevent the bomb plant. They do have still quite the edge on this retake. 4 players. They have fallen very low on HP. So there definitely is still a good chance they're going to pull this one off, but time is ticking and they haven't really made any headway just yet. Things are starting to get a little bit scary, you have to feel. KNG spotting out a couple of these players towards the control side. Mayor pitching in, getting some kills, and it's all falling apart. It's all on Sergey, and he's being held off. The time will actually win the round when it's all said and done, and he won't be able to escape. Maybe it's close, but he does get away, but it's still the victory for Made in Brazil.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Great shots there from MIBR, and you can see the frustration there on the faces of the ENCE players. They gave up this position towards ramp, and they were they were very passive, Dust. I think they were trying to rely on the fact that, hey, you know, we have better guns, we've got utility. If we just get our numbers together and attack in a coordinated way, we should be fine. And maybe they gave too much respect to MIBR in that sense. Either way, they go for a more aggressive hold outside. It's going to work out for the initial kill. Sunny looking to lock off the position with a smoke. Can he get out of this position? That's another question entirely. He's going to double down. He wants more here as he looks to push this.
Oh my.
Will they check? They look to be checking. Surely they're going to check this position.
Fallen thought about it seemed like, and yeah, he will eventually clear that one out. It was all going to come down to timing, and they want that smoke fading away, but Fallen does indeed limit Sunny's impact towards outside, but he's still done a hell of a lot, taking one down and softening up Mayern severely, down to just 14 HP, and slowing everything down is the other big thing here. Main Brazil have not made as much forward progress as they were hoping for at this stage. They're actually forced just to kind of retreat and backpedal to lobby, and that means that so much information is given to ENCE. They know what's going on outside. They know they don't have to worry about that as a threat. They can focus up on lobby and on the radio room. Fur and company will line up some smokes for an outside smoke wall again. So maybe that will kind of, maybe not a fake, but it'll kind of force ENCE to respect outside a bit again.
Yeah, this is really cool to do because given how much pressure was already around outside, reasonably speaking, you can expect that ENCE would actually have fallen out of those forward positions. So they're going to be completely blind, you know, in terms of what is actually behind the smoke wall. So really great detail there from the MIBR team as they look to try to finish this round off. There's only 20 seconds to go. They have to force their way forward. Nice entry from KNG. The trades start rolling through, and that's looking pretty good here. They will get that bomb plant. But is there a retake to be had here for ENCE? They look out-positioned here, Dust.
Yeah, it's not looking good at all, is it? Limited resources to work with. They do have the kit onto Alu. Maybe if he can find a kill very quickly, they would consider it, but it's not going to come into fruition. Fallen finds that out right away. Now at 7, not much to lose, to be fair. Might as well try to see what you can do with that Eagle, but it's not going to be a whole hell of a lot, is it? Fallen finishing things off. 13-7 for ENCE, and boy, oh boy, for a team that hasn't played Nuke in a long-ass time, they're certainly really doing some great work in ENCE. This map pick, it's backfiring so far, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. I think with MIBR, they got the luxury of starting off on that CT side, and the CT side of Nuke is definitely much easier to prepare for if you play off of the basic protocols. I feel like having a high level is pretty, you know, if you've got some great aimers and some good communication, you establish those basic protocols, you're pretty good to go. The artistry on this map is in the T side. It is, you know, in creating the defaults and setting the expectations and trying to fake out your opponent and trying to use those, you know, advanced tactics to your benefit to create those openings in the defense. That's the trick. And unfortunately, you know, that's actually, you know, that didn't go so well for ENCE. And they've been struggling there all week. Well, I say all week. I mean, we saw one game of Nuke yesterday from them against Gen G, but it was a struggle there too for ENCE on that T side of theirs.
Again, ENCE were a powerhouse on Nuke back in the day with Alexa B. They snapped Dallas' winning streak. They had such a phenomenal record on the map against top teams time and time again, but their map record now is negative on the map, and now they're about to lose to a team perhaps that doesn't even play this map. So this is looking very, very dangerous indeed. They don't have anything to work with in this round, really, except for that AK that X7 has.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, you know, once you see that push, it's like you just know where all the players are, so you can just go anywhere else on the map where they're not. So you can see a very easy response there for MIBR to safely drop down lower. They are getting tagged all over the place though, but they will be fine. And yeah, this is such a great call for MIBR against ENCE specifically in this matchup. Getting that nuke pick going for themselves. And they had that extra data as well. Again, I feel like it can't be stressed enough. You know, in seeing your opponent playing that map just yesterday, that's got to give, you know, let's say in this example, like in the case of MIBR, Zeus, who's the coach, so much to work with in terms of preparation. Whereas again, you know, that's a huge disadvantage for ENCE. They have no idea. There is no data on MIBR at the moment on maps like Nuke and Overpass. 2 of the 3 maps in the series. ENCE are completely blind as to what to expect.
Yeah. Definitely a good point to be made. It's also a good point to be made that ENCE's CT side yesterday was actually quite fine. It was their CT side that failed them, and today it's both sides not showing up. And that could cause their demise, as Main Brazil just need a couple of more to steal this one away from ENCE. And again, we talked about this earlier before the game even started. Whoever loses this series is hating life. Like, it's not looking good. Both teams are struggling right now. Both teams are exiting tournaments in the group stage left and right. None of these teams have had any success in quite some time. And so they're both in the same camp. They both have no obvious solutions to their problems other than just forcing their way through and hoping that things turn tides. But yeah, so whoever wins this is just kind of surviving, basically, and whoever loses is in the same old boat they've been in for the last 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and MIBR have, they have the chance to kind of go up the HLTV rankings, whereas this kind of seems like the opposite for ENCE right now. ENCE are actually the higher ranked team. They are the 11th rated team on HLTV, and MIBR are the 16th. So there's definitely some points to be had here for MIBR, and to potentially start climbing again. And here it comes the pressure to the upper bomb site. I love these mollies. It already creates a lot of problems for the site anchor. However, there's no push. Just baiting out that counter utility. You can see a detail here from MIBR.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be orchestrating things quite nicely. They're very neat and tidy with all the ways they're approaching things. Definitely the more organized team thus far in this game. Great pick to get early on to get that quick 5-on-4. Now they'll just waltz into a free upper bomb site save for Sergey, who's standing firm for 1, but that's not going to be enough as this bomb does make its way in. Alu does get a parting shot there on his way out of heaven, and now X7 on the flank through lobby actually makes this interesting all of a sudden. It's back into a 2v2, back to a winnable scenario. Time running low.
Yeah, that was a great kill. That really does change things. And they will make their final push here to try to save the round, and it's going to work out. Alu picks it up with the trio of kills, and that looked so good for MIBR. Again, Dustin, we're talking about that approach from MIBR being solid. At the 30-40 second mark, when they decided to actually finalize their push to the upper bomb site, where there was 4 CTs left, the CTs had 0 grenades. They actually had 0 counter grenades. If not for the fact that there was a couple MIBR players that got surprised at the end, that would have been an MIBR round. And
yeah, it looked good through and through. They had the 5-on-4. They traded Sergey 1-for-1 in upper. So, I mean, that's ideal. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. And then, yeah, it's just kind of a couple of crazy peaks from Alu in particular. Yeah. The flank from X7 through lobby that came faster maybe they expected. Really just came back to haunt them.
So if you're talking to MIBR, you can just say like, hey guys, like you own that. Like if you run that round again, it's probably going to work out for you guys. I feel like they created so many good spots for themselves.
They just didn't have like the smoke for Mini and a couple of other little things. A couple of small details weren't there, but still certainly they had a great chance to win. That just didn't quite happen for them.
They will slow things down a lot now. Just waiting to dish out those smokes outside, and they've had no presence there, so the CTs could really be playing any sort of a setup.
Right.
We saw that Sunny ran very quickly across to the secret stairs position, and you got to have the mollies for that. So, I mean, that position is to kind of counter if the T's throw the deep stairs molly. You'll be safe in Sunny's position and perhaps not checked for, and you can get a massive, massive multi-kill from that position. So Sunny is very dangerous if MIBR do continue to press outside, but it looks like they are working ramp now. What a pick from Taco. He knows those positions so well as he anchors that on the CT side, and that really pays off, that extra knowledge.
Absolutely. ENCE fighting against the set that they have not won any rounds in a row this half thus far. Now they have to do way more than that just to try to survive the map, but it's starting to pile on as Fur finds Sunny between the eyes there to get this into a 5 versus 3. Taco may be low on health, but Made in Brazil still packing a wallop right now with all their players still standing and so much map underneath their control, and it might even get worse with this. No, Alu able to at least get 1 back, but still so many more tasks they must complete to get back into the round. Ariel able to upgrade his weapon here, but upper bomb site has been taken. Bomb is going to get planted. He's trying to spam through, but it's not going to land the mark. Now they have to retake 2v3.
Sergey looking to come up the vent and trying to find if there is a possible timing that he can work with his teammate, but it doesn't really look like there is anything that they want to entertain here. They both will back away and save the guns instead. And it's such a desperate situation. Again, Dust, it's such a harsh reality as you were describing. The fact that they have not won any rounds in a row except for the first couple rounds that they won were in a row, and then that was it. Since then, pretty much, it's been a struggle.
The 2 rounds they won to get them to 5-2 are the only 2 rounds they've won in a row this entire game. So yeah, the 5 rounds on an island is not a good look if you're ENCE on your map pick. And stress that, a map that Made in Brazil has not played in ages. It's looking really grim. And now they have to win 7 in a row just to force an overtime.
Oh, man.
And they have to do it with slim pickings. They have to do more with less than. This is not good.
Yeah, you got to feel for them. We'll see if they can muster anything, any second wins.
On the flip side, look at the frag distribution for Made in Brazil, man. They are all just clicking.
Yeah, they're looking
Everything's
great.
going according to plan.
I'll go with in a forward position behind the smoke in the trophy room, looking for any aggression there from the CTs. Nothing to be found just yet, as Ali also keeps tabs on the outside. slower round again from MIBR, who are looking to, I'm sure, get those smokes down outside eventually. But you want to feel it out sometimes. See what the CTs are up to, if they're up to any aggressions first. Get some information. Now the smokes come down. Sunny wanting to delay things with the incendiary, and that will allow him to now rotate and have time if they do go quickly, but they're not going too fast. Ali will spot one more outside.
Good kill from X7, though, to at least alleviate the pressure that Taka was applying over towards ramp. That helps free up a little bit of bandwidth here for ENCE as Alu continues to try to thwart any type of outside pressure. In the meantime, Sunny feeling the presence of a player here in the back halls will drop a smoke and delay that route as well for Made in Brazil. So Made in Brazil's options are starting to be limited. At the very least, it's slowing them down. They still do have the superior firepower, and even though they're a man down, there's some low health players out there for Made in Brazil that are quite vulnerable. As we do see the pinch perhaps taking place towards upper KNG coming from Hut, the rest looking to maybe come in through Heaven or through Mini. Or maybe they even still go lower, who knows? There's so many options still left for Made in Brazil, but time is running low, they need to pick one now.
Oh god, it's getting so close. I don't know if there will be time here. They're against the clock more so than they're against ENCE at this point. The kills will start to come through there for ENCE as they start to desperately push. Very key position here for Sergey. Unable to stop the plant from happening though. And he'll be taken down as the rotation's caught by Fallen. Great spray. And that is going to be the round. The first map going towards MIBR with the surprise pick of Nuke. It works out better than I think anybody could have expected.
Absolutely fantastic stuff coming out from Made in Brazil. They definitely looked like a well-oiled machine throughout the entire game. I mean, even the rounds that they lost, they had ways to win. It just was like unfortunate timings or just happened to miss a trade. It wasn't like big mistakes or lack of knowledge or, you know, just misplaying things. It was more just sometimes you lose your duels, right? So definitely a big performance from Brazil. They steal away Nuke again. A map they don't play again, like we keep stressing that, but it is really important to consider. And that's definitely really scary for ENCE because Train's coming up next, and if Train has not been kind to ENCE lately, we'll talk about that a bit later. But first, we have to take a break. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be back with the rest of this series in just a bit.